Welcome back to the 24th floor. We told you we were switching it up, and we meant it. No Zoom. We've got our guy in the studio.
Yeah, I mean, do I look as good in person as I do on the Zoom is my question.
I'm stunned
You're,
to be here.
As I thought you might be. Our man is in the building.
Yeah, he's the host of the Locked On Ole Miss show, which you can catch right here on the 24 Plus app, YouTube, and anywhere you get your podcast. Welcome to the program live and in living color, Mr. Stephen Willis. You know I would do a handshake, but I got to do a clap.
That's what I was wondering about. Would I get the clap today?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, yes, you did. I'm going to rephrase that next time. Yes, you did a clap today.
Basically, Ruben just said pause.
Stephen, so much to talk about in Oxford. Where do we start, Rich? Where do you want to start?
Well, spring ball just wrapped up. What's the biggest thing you've learned about this team?
I think it's an Ole Miss football team that's going to be very talented. In my opinion, you have the top quarterback in college football,
Agreed.
You have the top running back in college football, and you have the top kicker in college football.
Carniero.
Man.
Yeah,
What a name.
Unbelievable, and so much talent all around. You'll see that when the NFL draft comes out, when there's not really any Ole Miss players in the second and third round, because they're all back at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a talented team. So Pete Golding is going to have the job of keeping the Ferrari on the road.
Yeah.
That's what he has to do this year.
Sometimes that's harder, though, isn't it?
No, that's not an easy thing to do. But if you can do it, they're going to be pretty good. The schedule this year is a lot more difficult, but the roster on this team probably a little bit more talented than it was in 2025. Now, you replace a guy like Deshaun Stribling, who was just a man in the playoff run, with Jonte Cook, who has all the talent in the world transferring in, but it has to mesh. There are some questions. It's not a done deal, but the optimism is high in Oxford, Mississippi right now.
What would be something that concerns you right now? Because it seems like if we talk about optimism and being on the high, got to bring it back down. What's some concerns?
There's 3 players going after 2 tackle positions.
Okay.
And that's not going to be settled until the fall. Now, Tommy Kinsler transferred from Miami. Really good player. I talked to the Florida football scout that he said he was shocked that Mario Cristobal let him walk.
Yeah.
You have Carius Kern, who was a top 50-ish player at LSU, transferred in. And then you have Terez Davis, who transferred from the University of Maryland. Mm-hmm. And 3 transfers coming in, you have to find 2 slots, but you're not exactly who they are at this point. And listen, last year Ole Miss didn't have the best of offensive line. Trinidad fixed a lot of problems for Ole Miss last year. So if this offensive line can gel and be really good moving forward, they have a chance to be really, really good, but that's a question mark at this point. You have to do it. You have to see it.
Well, so it doesn't matter how good your quarterback is, doesn't matter how good your running back is. It really, ultimately, if you ask any real football coach, a real football fan, it's your line. However good your line is how good your team is. And so when that's the first place you went on possible, here's what we got to keep our eye on, tells me that, that if that gets sewed up, then Ole Miss can make a real run again. But you still have that problem of keeping the Ferrari on the road with the expectations that everybody's going to have for this team now. Yeah. That's not easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever you look at them, I think Texas and Ole Miss are the 2 most talented teams in the Southeastern Conference. The Texas Ole Miss game is going to be
UGA's not in there?
I think they're good, but
did they lose a lot?
It's they're great, but unless they find a pass rush, they're going to have the same problem.
Because they're playing Elton on the O-line instead of D-line.
Yeah, but they're going to be good. They're going to be a playoff level team, but I just don't think they're in the top 2 at the moment. I think Texas is going to be really good, and then you have Ole Miss, and whenever they play each other, you have the fact that a Manning playing Ole Miss, that's always a big deal. Yeah. A talented Ole Miss team going to Austin, Texas, all of the stuff going on. I think that's going to be one of the storyline games of the year. Of course, the LSU game is going to be.
I was just about to say.
We're going to talk about that. But the game of the year, like the LSU-Bama game or what Florida and Tennessee used to be, in my opinion, is going to be Texas and Ole Miss this year.
So I have to say, if they win 10 again, is that enough anymore coming off of last season, or now is it?
You're talking about for the fan base.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that enough?
Oh,
Just
yeah.
10 wins.
That absolutely is enough at this point. Now, you have to remember.
People get spoiled. They
They
will
get spoiled, but they don't get spoiled that quickly. It wasn't too long ago that an 8-4 season, it was like, hey, let's fire up a parade. We had a great year. So winning 10 games a year, that's a really big deal. And I just don't see anything imminent that is going to take that away.
Okay.
Yeah, and so the schedule, you mentioned the schedule, and I think that's interesting because anymore it doesn't necessarily benefit you to have the toughest schedule. If you're trying to, because you can get that one loss that keeps you out, even though you're playing in the toughest conference in the country. So that schedule, I think, what are some of we mentioned, some of the Texas game, but for us, that LSU game has.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's got to have that one circled.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely.
Lane doing.
Yeah, it's going to be nuts. I mean, game day is going to be in Oxford that day. It's going to be an absolute circus, and everybody knows how huge it is. But the next week, Ole Miss has to go to Florida. You're coming off of that circus to Florida. That's tough.
That's tough.
You play Auburn on October 31st.
Yeah.
That's in between Texas and Georgia. So there are a couple of landmines on the schedule for Ole Miss. Then there's the game to play Vanderbilt in Nashville. I mean, people might roll their eyes whenever they hear that, but right now I don't think you should do that.
No.
They've got it rolling up on West End at the moment. But this Ole Miss team is good enough to handle this schedule. This isn't like you would much rather be where Ole Miss is than where, say, Arkansas or Mississippi State. And
Nobody
those
wants to
guys
be where
are going
Arkansas
into
is
it.
I knew Ruben was going to make a face about Arkansas. I knew it.
Yeah, you would rather be where Ole Miss is than where they are at the moment, but the 9-game schedule is not going to be an easy thing.
So I want to kind of build a bridge between sports and Ole Miss. Of course, Lane Kiffin takes a lot of pot shots.
Did you call him lame or lane?
I mean, either or it works. What he's doing on Twitter is lame. He took pot shots at Ole Miss again after losing in baseball. And so let's kind of transition to other Ole Miss sports. Let's talk baseball because that's kind of what's going on right now. As we record this, Ole Miss is 30-12, one of the top teams in all of college baseball. What would you kind of talk about them? What do we need to know? What's the real story of this season?
The pitching staff on this baseball team is unreal. It's so good. And that is what carried this baseball team until the hitting came along. They were 3-outcome hitting for much of the season to where it was either home run, walk, or strikeout.
That's it.
That's how they scored the run. They started hitting extra base hits, starting hitting singles, started actually playing baseball. Turned out they were a pretty good team. And now they've won 3 straight series, including at Florida and at Tennessee, which that's the first time.
Yeah,
that's the first time they've won on Rocky Top since 2018 or something like that. And then you had the sweep against LSU. Well, LSU. And you have Arkansas, A&M, Georgia this weekend in Oxford. That's going to be a massive series because they're leading the league, and you close out at Alabama. If Ole Miss wins 6 of their last 12-ish games, if they just go 6-6, they're going to go 16-14 and host a regional, which at Ole Miss, that's the minimum acceptable standard.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, the question there becomes if you can do a little bit better than that. Let's say Ole Miss gets 2 or 3 from Georgia this weekend and moves up, national seed conversation starts to come into focus. And if that happens, this Ole Miss team could be really good and hit all their goals, honestly.
So you're saying they're good, but they really haven't reached they're really not exceeding expectations when it comes to Ole Miss.
No, they haven't hit their ceiling because their pitching staff is so good. Their Saturday starter is probably a top 10 major league draft pick. Going. That's on Saturday. That's not their ace.
I was gonna say,
And then on Sunday, Taylor Rabe on Sunday throws 98 miles an hour. I mean, they can
fireballers.
They can bring it. So as long as the offense continues to stay hot, which against Murray State they put up 19 runs in midweek this week. If they can keep their offense hot, they're going to be a problem against all 4 of the teams on their schedule once they get to Hoover.
Can this team make it to the College World Series?
Can they? Yes. Will they? I'm not sure because of the first part of the season, what the offense did. If you have a bad couple of offense games or it dips, is there enough there, and is your pitching good enough to sustain that? It'll be interesting because last year you thought Ole Miss was going to make it to a super regional, and Murray State beat them. And that was that series. So weird things can happen in baseball, but they have the talent to do it. But the question is the ups and downs of baseball at this point.
All right, let's switch from baseball now to my favorite sport.
I was just about to
basketball.
say, I know you want to get into it.
I'm trying to get into hoop. We'll save Coach Joe for the back end of this. What's the transfer portal look? Because it's closed now, right? Closed 21st?
Yeah, I think the window's closed.
Yes, the window is closed now. So everybody who's getting in has got to be in by now, outside of like coaching changes and stuff happening. So who is Ole Miss targeting that's going to make a difference?
I'm not 100% sure.
It's a wild.
I went to the TUI Center this week and kind of hung out and tried to do everything. And the men's side, it was real cagey. They were working. I'm not going to say panic working, but they knew a 15 and 20 season couldn't happen again. I'll put it like that. So when you look at that, I like what they've gotten. The kid out of Pitt, Roman's his first name is Siapula.
I'm not even going to attempt.
Is he European?
He's from Australia.
Oh.
And he's a former rugby player, but he started every game for Pitt.
So he'll be physical at least.
Yeah, and he is an offensive rebounding specialist. Okay. And as we've talked about the show, rebounding has been a constant on this team going forward, and Beard appears to be attacking weaknesses and trying to find complementary pieces to go with Patton Pinkins and with Ilias Camerden, as opposed and like moving Ilias Camerden off ball to where he'll be a 2. He went out and got a point guard from Seton Hall. I think that's the plan. He likes what he has with Ilias, and at the end of the year, he was pretty good.
I think that's a good plan as opposed to cleaning the slate and starting all over.
Yeah, and then Patton Pinkins playing the other wing, then it's all a matter of just finding a couple of guys that rebound, and you got somebody good on the ball, and Chris Beard's going to figure it out. There's enough of a sample size to realize that's going on. But I don't know who that guy is that they're targeting.
And it's hard to know in the transfer portal because he might have been decent over there and doo-doo over here or doo-doo over there and amazing over here.
And the crazy thing is, just because they're bad there doesn't mean they're not going to be great where you are because everything is so system dependent. And he might not be a fit on that one, but he might fit what you're doing like a glove. And I would not be in favor of myself like evaluating players because
it's hard.
There's so much variation between that.
I know we're supposed to wrap. I think we're going to extend this section a little longer, and we'll just shorten up one of our other sections because I know you want to get in on this too when it comes to college basketball.
Absolutely. I mean, we're talking about the men, but obviously we got to give our flowers to Coach Yo. Second round of March Madness, 24 wins. Now you lose a star in Cody McMahon, but in a good way because she goes in the first round of the WNBA draft. So where is this program right now for women's basketball?
Well, about done with the transfer portal. Joe's been on a heater. My goodness. LSU starting point guard, check.
Yes.
2 guards from Tennessee, check. You know, you're grabbing a player from Florida, like Power 5 experience all over the place. They are basically done now. Serathinu, at the very end, kind of, I don't know if she got into the portal or she was planning on it one point.
Because there's a difference.
I'll have to see exactly what she did, but this women's basketball team is in a position to take yet another step. Now, they lose Cody McMahon. 34 double-digit scoring games over the season. That's a hard thing to replace. But here's my thoughts on the women's team. In the fourth quarter, they had a problem going through scoring slumps. They played defense so hard for 3 quarters that at the end of the game, their legs were gone. So you needed more people that can score the basketball than just Cody McMahon. Because if her shot stops going in, no shots are going in, essentially.
People do not understand how hard you have to play in the SEC just to be on the court, right? Just even be there. And so I would say, to your point, first of all, Coach Yo was killing it at the WNBA draft, living her best life. Secondly,
so cool.
The people that she is bringing in are people, in my mind, and having watched a lot of women's college basketball this past season, are people that were not in the right fit where they were at before. And now she prides herself on being able to take players and develop them into pros. And I think that's what she's doing here. And I think they have a chance to take a huge step.
And I can't remember the girl's name, so I apologize, but it's the transfer that came in from Illinois State that averaged about 17 points a game. She's going to be a wing. She's going to be really good, and she might actually end up being the best pickup in the whole transfer portal class.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you look at that run that Ole Miss just had, was that about them meeting expectations, or do you feel like there was more left on the table, especially since it ended on a buzzer beater in round 2? We kind of probably thought they would go Sweet 16. Leaves a sour taste in your mouth where you're like, we still are a little bit higher that we can go.
Sweet 16 feels like the expectation now, right?
Yeah.
It kind of feels like that's. Yeah, it's weird to think of. It's like round of 32, that kind of felt like a little bit of a failure, and it was a great season, but that's one of the best compliments Coach O can get is that the fan base is not satisfied unless you hit that 16 number. And now the question is, how do you get to the round of 8? How do you get to the Final Four? That's the next step.
1 or 2 more wins improves your seed, makes the path a little different. That's the difference. All right, so I know we got to take a break. They've been yelling in our ear. It was time for us to take a break, so I will shut up now. But, Steven, it's so good to see you. Is he staying?
No, I just got to ask him, how much better is it this in person than on Zoom?
This is amazing. Yeah. You guys have a wonderful setup, man. Zoom does not do this place justice.
Thank you.
I've heard that a lot about this right here, that Zoom doesn't do it justice. So I appreciate you,
All right.
making that solid, solid observation.
This guy.
Right there.
Steven, we appreciate you pulling up, my man. As always, you can catch Steven's great work on the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. Be sure to catch it all. Time for a quick break. We'll be back on the 24th floor.